Well, look around. Look into middle-class families struggling to afford both groceries and mortgage payments, while some sit back and live off the government. It's the ultimate frustration. We take it out on the wealthy, but why? They're not taking away middle-class dollars. In fact, who do you think funds these entitlements? And don't blame it on the poor either. If you dangle the welfare carrot, most will bite. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is in the policy. So what is the real economic outlook? Well, if you look at total employment, as President Obama tells us to, the numbers are still going up. But that's not the whole story. What about labor force participation, take-home pay, cost of living, health care premiums? Well, here with the full picture is former advisor to George W. Bush, an economic analyst, Kereakos. Zuras, thank you so much for being here from our bureau in D.C.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the administration is touting this 5.3 unemployment rate, but are Americans really winning right now financially?
No, they're not. And then, look, you know, the 5.2 unemployment rate is a ridiculously false number. The actual unemployment rate, according to the U6 measure, is 10.6% as of June 2015. And let's not forget that there's 102 million Americans without work. So, of course, when everybody drops off, the rate that they're going to publish is 5-something because it makes it look good, but that's not the fact. 102 million out of work. The actual rate is closer to 30% unemployment when you count everybody, and that's a fact.
And we're looking at the labor force participation rate as well. That's something that I have a real problem with. It's the lowest that it's been in the longest time, yet President Obama is still touting his economic recovery. So are Americans buying what President Obama is putting out there?
No, they're not. And when you look around, do you know anybody that's doing any better than they were in the last 7 years? Because I don't. And most don't. When you have 102 million Americans out of work, we're not doing well. And he's touting his economic growth is minus 0.02% growth an accomplishment. We're going backwards. We're losing ground. We're not gaining ground. Our economic growth is pathetic when you look at and you think about the trillions and trillions of dollars that President Obama has spent. He's outspent every president combined in U.S. history, and we have minus 0.02% growth. That's pathetic.
And something else I wonder, when is President Obama going to stop blaming George W. Bush for all the problems with the economy? Yet at the same time, he's still saying, look at how great of a job I'm doing. But don't forget, if you do look at those numbers, don't forget who got us in this position. He's been saying this for how long? I wonder, is he going to have to leave the White House before he finally stops blaming Bush for all the problems?
I don't think we're ever going to hear him stop blaming Bush or anyone else. He's never taken accountability for anything that's gone wrong under his watch, for anything that he's done. He's always blamed somebody else. He's blaming Republicans. He's still blaming Bush. He's had 7 years, and he's outspent every president in U.S. history combined, trillions and trillions of debt that we have now because of this. This is his. He owns it. It's his economy. He didn't inherit it. He ran for it, and he got it, and this is what he's done with it. 102 million people out of work, highest poverty rate in history, highest labor participation rate, lowest labor participation rate in history. We got serious problems, and they're his. He created them, and he owns them.
And that's the thing, too. He takes credit for everything. We see him take credit for all these wonderful things that are supposedly happening. But I wonder, looking towards the future, who do we need to get in office to turn this thing around with the right policies and the right incentives to get our economy back up and moving actually, and lower the numbers that need to be lowered and raise the numbers that need to be raised?
We need a Republican president to be voted in. And we need somebody that's going to be serious about making serious cuts to entitlement programs, getting rid of government waste, and just lowering taxes for everyone, because I'm going to tell you right now, you can talk about taxing the rich, taxing this. Everybody's paying a lot of taxes, and it's not a tax problem. We have a spending problem. Lower the taxes, get in there, make the cuts, do the right things, and we got to have somebody that's willing to do that. And if we don't get somebody that's willing to do that, this thing's going to keep going, and we're going to hit the 20 trillion mark, and we're going to be in big, big trouble.
I want to go through some of these candidates as well, because we've heard a lot of flack taken by Jeb Bush for his brother, for the legacy of George W. Bush, and I don't think that's fair either. But we talked about Jeb Bush talking about his so-called zombie economy under President Obama, and he says, you know, look what I did in Florida. We're going to lower taxes. We're going to decrease some of these regulations. We're going to have a more market-oriented health care approach. Is he the man that's going to be able to do it, in your opinion?
I don't know, and he does struggle with the legacy of his brother. He did do some good things in Florida, but I'm not really crazy about his border, the immigration and border control thing. I'll tell you, I like Trump right now. I think he's saying all the right things. I think he's got the economic smarts to do what needs to be done. He doesn't owe anybody any money. He's not taking money from special interest groups. He's resonating with people. They're getting his message. He speaks in a way that everybody understands him. And, right now, I mean, everything he's saying is true. And nobody's talking about the problems. They're just talking about what he's saying and how he said it.
You're right.
It's gonna be an interesting field because we got a lot of people in there. But right now, I like Trump. I like him a lot.
I think people like his frank approach to everything, and you're right. People are attacking for the way that he says things, but if you actually look at the facts, he's right on point with almost everything that he said, especially when he declared his candidacy. I watched that speech and I was in awe. I was really surprised, an unlikely voice of reason here. That leads me to my next question, though. Do we need a businessman or a businesswoman? We've got Carly Fiorina in the race as well. Is that the person that's going to be able to turn the economy around? We know Mitt Romney couldn't get in office, but I always wonder, if Mitt Romney was our president right now, would we be in a different spot?
I think we would be in a different spot, and I think a lot of people are regretting the fact that they didn't vote for Romney when they had the chance to, because when you look back at all the presidential debates and all the topics that were talked about, he was exactly right on every single point that he debated with President Obama. And it's all come true now, and you look back and you say, my gosh, he was exactly right on everything. We need a business person. The United States of America is a business. It's a big business. And whether it's a female business executive or a male business executive, it doesn't matter. I would vote for either one. I would love to hear more from Fiorina because I just haven't heard much from her. But we need somebody that knows business, because this is a business and it's a bottom line business. And if you don't cut the spending, it's never going to end. And you need somebody to go in there that understands it, knows it, can go in and negotiate and have, some steel, what, and say to the people that are against us, we're not dealing with you. And if you don't like it, go away.
Exactly.
We don't need you. And move on.
You're right. The United States is a business. It's time we start looking at it.
They're walking all over us.
Well, of course they are. And we're not running it like a business. We're running it like a charity case. And that's what you get when you run a country like a charity case. Thank you so much for being here. We'll have to wait and see. I really like what Donald Trump is saying as well. And I'm glad that you're in the Trump race with me as well. Thanks for being here.